Tap 3 mana, ice cream with banana, now our problem's solved. Welcome back, guys, to my new top 10. This time it's top 10 novel characters. It's book characters from the original mass market paperback books. And I think you'll be surprised at number 1. So let's start without further ado. Number 10 has season to Mar. Rise, Sons of Sand. Has season to Mars from the Legends block of books. And you might be confused because Legends is only one set, but there were so many characters in Legends that they made 6 books out of Legends and has season to Mars in 3 of them. Rise, Sons of Sand becomes kind of a meme. It gets said over and over in the book. So you have to read the book in order to understand how to play this card. It's quite a good commander card too. I've played against it several times. Number 9, Jedit Ojanin. Also, Jedit Ojanin of Afrava. 2 cards, same person. This is also Legends Cycle. 3 books about cat people. Lots of kung fu, punching, kicking, very descriptive. Swinging a kick to the jaw, connects. Another kick to his manhood, he buckles up. A lot of kung fu stuff. It's a really entertaining series to read if you've got the chance. Number 8, Faj the Untouchable. The Cabal is here. The Cabal is everywhere. Faj is probably the most entertaining character from the Odyssey Onslaught standard. One of the best standards in my memory. Faj the Untouchable grabs the skin from underneath her fingernails and rolls it up into a ball and throws it at a monster to defeat it. Yikes. It's exactly like the card. Faj Untouchable enters the battlefield. If you didn't cast from your hand, you lose the game. Seen someone lose turn 2 to that from just discarding down to hand size and then getting hit by an Exude. Very hilarious, by the way. But it has Venom on it, and if it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. Yeah, it's the most venomous character you can think of. And when she's in the pits, you just watch out. Number 7 is Tahngarth, Talrim Hero. Tahngarth jumps off of a cliff and thinks in his head, okay, for every 10 feet I have to fall, it's another broken bone. And Tahngarth's trying to figure out how many broken bones he's going to have. What masculinity, how masculine, what machismo, what bravado. My favorite character from Arcadian Masks block. Now we're going to the good stuff, guys. Number 6, Baron, Master Wizard. Baron is pretty strong. He casts Obliterate, which is an 8 mana spell, and the story of Baron casting Obliterate is a pretty good one. Baron starts off just as a common person, and someone's dying, and he knows the spell for Obliterate, and it takes 3 days to say the spell. And he's dying, so Baron tries to write down what he's saying with a bunch of other scribes, and they run out of ink. And so Baron goes to the cartographer and grabs red ink, since they ran out of normal ink. And then they try to write down what his last words for the Obliterate spell. And then they run out of all kinds of ink altogether. And there's only a little bit to the Obliterate spell left. So Baron does what no scribe should ever do. He leans into the person with his ear, and he listens for the rest of the Obliterate spell, and he walks off. Baron Master Wizard ends up being an important part of Urza. And when the Solarian Academy is finally attacked, Baron actually dies from an unexpected attack. He asks Karn to go back in time and save Baron because Urza says Baron dying is not acceptable. Karn goes back far back in time enough to save Baron and make sure that he actually ends up living. Fortunately, Baron casts the Apocalypse spell, uh, and it kind of ends the Apocalypse set. It's sort of tragic, really. But now the card Karn's Temporal Summoning from the current standard comes from saving Baron's life right here. Next up, we have Volrath the Fallen. I am down. I am not out. Volrath comes at number 5. I really like his attitude. He's never down. Volrath wants to be Evankar of Wrath. He fights tooth and nail for it. He wants it badly. Unfortunately, during his revenge escapade, he ends up leaving the stronghold. When he comes back, Krovak's ascended Evankar ends up being, well, king of the stronghold of instead of Volrath. And if you've got a limited tournament and you pull both Volrath the Fallen and Ascended Evankar, that's a pretty good draft. That was probably my second favorite draft I'd ever had. Volrath ends up battling the Ascended Evankar and dies, trying to get his throne back. But you have to read the entire Wrath cycle to understand his mindset there. Number 4 is Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth, well, he comes from the probably proto-magic kind of history. Yawgmoth gets kicked out for being a sort of a heretical healer, just like Liliana did. He likes improving artifacts, and he calls that phyresis. And there he gets phyrexia from. That's the word. It comes from Yawgmoth. Comes from time immemorial. Ends up being a pretty bad baddie. He ends up attacking the plane Dominaria through the invasion cycle. All 3 sets is 3 sieges of Dominaria. And at the end, Apocalypse, he shows up himself. And he's pretty mad that the first 2 didn't go off. So he finally ends up catching the main characters of the story and puts them in a Phyrexian arena where they have Urza and Gerard Capashen battle. There's Urza on the left and Gerard on the right. Gerard ends up slicing off Urza's head, and it rolls. Of course, Urza's still not dead. He's a planeswalker. But he ends up trying to reward Gerard Capashen for slicing off Urza's head. It's basically the only way that Gerard could get close enough to the Phyrexian king. He ends up being millions of tiny creatures are all the Phyrexian hive mind that is Yawgmoth. And he approaches Gerard disguised as Hannah. And if you look at the card Jilt, also from Apocalypse, it says, "You're not my Hannah, Jared to Yawgmoth," and Jared slices open his love, Hannah, and it ends up being Yawgmoth in the Phyrexian arena. And, well, now there's just a tomb of Yawgmoth. That's all there is of him. He ended up dying and producing as much swamp mana as you can imagine. Yeah, the black is the black. Number 3. Urza Planeswalker. Urza Planeswalker ends up fighting his brother, Mishra. They're both students of Takasia, and they're both artificers, and so they know a lot about artifacts. And they started the Brothers' War. This is like 1994 revised stuff. This is the artifacts in the very beginning of Magic the Gathering. And the fights, over 2 cards. One's Millstone and one's Mightstone and one's Meekstone. And Meekstone is a pretty good card. It should be in Commander. Creatures of power 3 or greater don't untap during the controller's untap step. You should probably use it in a Season Tamar deck, now that I think about it. And the Mightstone is, well, it's pretty bad, if you don't remember it. It's got great art, though. All attacking creatures gain +1/+0. So, 2 artifacts, all the way back from Alpha, like I said. Here's the original art. That looks pretty. There we go. And they fight, and Mishra's losing. So Mishra does, what anyone would do. He cheats. He opens up a portal to Phyrexia. Phyrexians come. Urza fights them off, but it ends up causing such an explosion that creates the Shard. And the Shard is basically a group of a handful of planes that are cut off from the other planes in existence, the multiverse, the universe of Magic the Gathering, and makes everyone pretty mad. So Urza has a plan to invade Phyrexia, the plane itself, with a bunch of other planeswalkers. He ends up getting betrayed by Tivish Svat. There's actually a magic card. How did I know Svat would betray us? I was counting on it. That's a pretty good flavor text. A bunch of planeswalkers just ends up dying. Everyone ends up dying. Everyone that Urza touches and loves, and just ends up hurt or dead. So Urza ends up being the backbone of Magic storyline, and the person who gets it going. During the invasion apocalypse, Urza realizes that the only way to win is through the power of the Null Moon. And the Null Moon is basically millions of points of white mana that's been storing up for millions of years. So he uses his little eyeballs of himself. I guess it's the Meekstone and Mightstone. By the way, guys, if anything I'm saying is wrong, feel free to embarrass me in the comments below. And basically his eyes explode, power the Weatherlight, fix the entire mess of the invasion cycle, and well, everything's hunky-dory except Urza's dead. My roommate says he was really glad that Urza's dead because he was so tired of hearing the storyline. It's thousands of pages. But you know what? There's so much nostalgia for Urza that he shows up in Dominaria. Huh. As a card explaining basically what he did is just tons of white mana in the Null Moon. So now we get to number 2, Nicol Bolas. Nicol Bolas is, well, so I guess he's before Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth's before Urza, so this is like the earliest of the early planeswalkers. Nicol Bolas and his brothers and sisters and cousins, basically 5 of them, Palladium Moors, Arcades Sabbath, Chromium, and Nicol Bolas, are all just basically enslaving millions of humans. And they all get pretty mad, and they revolt, and they all release their Dragonfire, and millions die, but the peasants have the upper hand, and defeat or kill all the other dragons except for Nicol Bolas. Nicol Bolas shows up in Kamigawa block. Tetsuo Umezawa finds him trapped inside a mirror. And Nicol Bolas, at Kamigawa block, there is not many planeswalkers left. Like I said, Urza pretty much killed all of them. I think the only people left standing at Kamigawa block is Nicol Bolas and Sarah Planeswalker, which is AWOL. We find out Karn is a Planeswalker, but we really don't see much of it. Fairy's a Planeswalker too, but he kind of phased out with Zalfir. So, Nicol Bolas is kind of the planeswalker that connects the old world with the new world of Magic the Gathering, where there's actually planeswalker cards. So that's why I believe Nicol Bolas is number 2, and that's just the novels. His story is still going today. Number 1, if you guess number 1, you give yourself a prize. Joda, Archmage Eternal. Joda is one of the first books in Magic the Gathering. Before there's cycles, blocks of cards, there were just books. And if you read those first couple of books, you got a magic card. And some of those magic cards are pretty cool. You got Windseeker Centaur. My favorite is Anacrypt, which is like $100. And all you had to do was read this one page in the book that said, hey, look, this book comes with a free card. Why don't you go get it? And I got one of each of those promo cards. There's no Affinity Dragon, which I got in a magazine. For some reason, it says Dragon Con and like the wiki where it's from, but I really distinctly remember it being in a magazine. So I don't know where they're going about that. Joda's story is he's a mage. He meets 5 powerful mages, masters of their guilds, one of each color. Ends up making the black mage terribly mad. But by defeating enough characters, he gains the strength and goes to the blind eternities. Ends up getting hit in the face by a Mahamoti genie. And then he casts Mirror Universe against whoever's summoning these genies and other creatures against him. Mirror Universe is a great card from Legends. I've only faced it once, but it trades life totals with your opponent. Sacrifice Mirror Universe. Activate this ability only during your upkeep. This was a much better card when there was mana burn, but I lost Mirror Universe. Joda expertly is not that powerful of a mage. She's going up against just a planeswalker of an unknown name in the Blind Eternities, the space between the multiverse. And he just ends up winning. And there's just not that much to say about Joda other than really kicking magic cards that come with the books. You guys should really check these out. These cards are pretty good. Arena isn't that good of a card. Suez S Start. These cards were like $7 when they first came out, and it was almost impossible to get a complete set of it. You could find like one Suez S Start in your local gaming store, and it was really impossible to tell how strong these cards were. It wasn't until basically people were buying stuff on the internet until people realized that Mana Crypt was too powerful and had to be restricted. Joda's number 1 because he's the most perfect story of Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is based off of some Tolkien-esque stories, so there's always goblins and elves and dwarves and that sort of thing. But a lot of the books get away from what makes Magic the Gathering Magic the Gathering. They want to tell like a Tolkien-esque story. They want to tell, if you go back to Jared O'Janin, they just want to tell a story about cat warriors doing kung fu. They don't want to tell about, magic cards doing magic card things. And Joda interacts with a lot of magic cards, so he is the epitome of a magic card and a magic character in a Magic the Gathering book. So what are some of your favorites in Magic the Gathering books? There's a lot of them. So feel free to leave something in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to see more of this content, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to click the bell icon below. Thanks for watching Magic Gathering Strat. I hope to see you soon, and goodbye.